since the election. For Janet, an interim sum has helped, but she says she won't scatter Terry's ashes until he's got his compensation in full. Emma Simpson, BBC News, Wilmslow.
And Emma's here alongside former Postmaster Tim Brentnall. Emma, just first of all, reflection on that. It's such a sad... I mean, you know, there's so much attached to that. There's the mechanics of the process, the unfairness, someone dying before they even receive the compensation. There's so much in that.
It is so sad. I mean, Janet describes it as a bit of a slap in the face. Imagine losing your husband and they've been in this terribly long battle and then days later getting the first full compensation order, which really didn't touch the sides in terms of what they think they are owed. And Janet said, I don't want sympathy. I want my money back, because she's going to fight on. And I think, like all victims, they just want to wake up and never think about the post office again. But she's going to likely face many months more trying to get what they think they are owed.
Tim, a big nod from you when you want to wake up one day and not have this still to deal with. Can you share with people a little bit about your story and where you are now, if you would?
Well, I was convicted by the Post Office in 2010 for false accounting. I was part of Alan's group from late 2011, part of the second site mediation in 2013, part of the court case in the 555 in 2019. My conviction was quashed in 2021. At that point, you think things are going to change and improve, and I'm sitting here 4 years later with really nothing significant has changed. My full claim went into the Post Office in August last year. It took them until December to respond, and they offered me less than 17% of the amount.
17%?
17%, yes, 17%.
Okay. So, and just to add, put some flesh on the bones of the story, you were told to plead guilty, like so many others, which is why your conviction came about. Your shortfall was £22,000?
£22,500.
£22,500. Your parents had got the Post Office business for you so that you would have a future. So they got a loan to pay off what you were told was this shortfall. So when you think of the ramifications, this is your parents as well who have, you know, tried to help you and continue to protect you, who are still waiting. You are now, what, 43?
43, yeah.
I mean, you're a young man and you've got this hanging over you. This has been almost your whole adult life. Yeah,
well, we took on the village post office because I found any sort of full-time work was taking me further and further away from home. I wanted to stay and work in Pembrokeshire. It's a beautiful, beautiful part of the country to live in. When the village shop came up for sale, it seemed like a perfect opportunity to do that. And for the first 5 years, it was. I grew the business year on year until this happened. And as you said, when you're told there's this large shortfall, and I was actually told on the day by the auditors, pay this money back or you'll be charged with theft. So I sold my car that I had at the time, had to go cap in hand to mum and dad who used their savings and had to take a loan to help pay it off. So it wiped out any savings they had, it wiped out the business that we had and cost me any sort of future employment in the last 15 years.
Can I ask Tim, when you got that offer that you kindly shared with us of 17%, I mean, does it come in a letter? What was your immediate reaction? What was that like, that moment?
It very much reminded me of receiving a summons to court from the post office the first time round, just in disbelief. That it was, my claim is put together by lawyers and forensic accountants. We haven't picked these figures out of the air. People much cleverer than me look at it and say, this is what it's cost you. Now, already, before it was submitted, we were all warned that we'll never get that 100% figure. It's just not how it works, which seems unfair in itself. You sit down and you think yourself, well, you get to a number or a percentage where you think, well, that's enough for me to walk away and draw a line under it. I was warned the day before by Neil at Hudgels that the offer was coming and it was going to be significantly under. You still aren't given a number, it was still what I'd prepared myself for, and what came were two totally different things. When they responded to the offer, they actually sent back. It was a 50-page letter dismissing the heads of loss that we'd claimed for, and nearly 1,500 pieces of supporting or documentation that we've had to now spend the last sort of 3 months going through to resubmit it again. It feels like it's just litigation all over again.
Emma, this sounds like torture. To be complete, there are 4 compensation schemes for a start, which complicates
all different,
things. Yeah,
all with their own problems and challenges, and it is really complicated. But to be fair, there is money going out the door. The latest figures: 669 million to more than 4,000 claimants, and things have speeded up.
Has gone. That money has
yes, it's gone.
People have receipt of that.
But here's the thing: we're now at a stage where we're dealing with the biggest, most complex cases, people who've been the hardest hit. And it's not just the shortfalls, it's these consequential losses, like Janet losing their home, their business, Terry's ill health, was that a factor? Loss of income. I mean, these are really big sums, and it's getting bogged down as the postmasters feel in delays, bureaucracies, and it's become very adversarial. That's the issue. And as we've seen with Terry, people are dying. There was a piece of work last January that showed that more than 250 sub-postmasters, victims, had already passed away without getting their full redress. And people are getting older. So there is an urgency now to get it fixed. The government's saying we're going as quickly as we can, but something seems to be going wrong in the process, because some of these offers now are coming back far lower than what claimants are after.
Did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm here to talk about myself. I felt I had to come because of people like Terry. It's an illustration that people are dying before they get them. But driving up, it's a 5-hour drive for me to get here. I had numerous phone calls last night from other people in our groups. People like Varchas Patel, whose dad Vipin is in the same position as me. There are people, as you touched on, I'm 43. I can afford to wait, but there are so many people much older than me that should be able to sit back and relax and enjoy the years that they've got left, and they're just not being put in that position.
It's a really strong point you made, Tim. Do you see? I know you talked about the bottlenecks and the problems and all that. Do you think there is, in your head, do you think there is a means by which, if government willing, that it could be simpler? Do you think that, or do you think we are just, much as you wish it weren't so, do you think there is inevitability about how complicated this is, or do you think it just could be a lot simpler if the government chose to push it that way?
Yes, well, both. It is very complicated, and we're talking lots of people and huge sums of public money, and we all appreciate that the taxpayer is paying for this. But this time, or earlier than this time last year, we were told we can't overturn the convictions, there's legal processes to follow, these things take time, etc., etc. When the public opinion shifted on it, the government moved within a week to do something. So if there's a will, there's a way. Surely they can do something, because people are dying and it's not fair.
Really appreciate you coming in. Long drive. We appreciate that as well.
It shows how important it is to you.
Yeah.
Emma, thank you. Tim, thank you.
Time now is 8:30.